Welcome back, everybody, to That Pretentious Book Club.
Whoa, welcome back to That Pretentious Book Club.
That was my like sports horn sound. I don't know what it's
Oh, I
called.
loved
I
it.
don't go to the sports,
We
but
did, yes. What is the sports?
can you tell by the name of the podcast that we don't typically attend sporting events?
I feel like you would expect. What are some pretentious sports? Like
Um,
lacrosse or something. I don't
yeah,
know.
lacrosse,
Polo,
polo. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Cricket. Is that a sport?
cricket.
Cricket.
True. Yeah,
Uh, hmm.
those kinds of
Would you
things.
call wine tasting a sport?
It is the way I do it. Just
Now I want to go wine tasting with you. Actually, we should do that because I've always wanted to go wine tasting and no one will go with me.
I will totally go with you. And you know what?
Yeah,
We live in such a great area for it. There's
I
so many
know.
wineries.
There are so many opportunities. I can't believe
Imagine
nobody.
Kendall Hill Country Wine Tour Day.
Wait, hang on. We can combine this with Twilight Day because we
Oh
can go
my
drink all the wine and then
God.
come back and we can just watch all the Twilight movies until we pass out.
You're describing my perfect day.
I'm also describing my perfect day. So now we need to nail down a date. I'm gonna put a
Okay.
reminder. Twilight Wine Tour Day schedule. By the way,
Oh my
everyone, that over there is
God.
Dr. Spoons Palermo, aka Kendall.
Hi, howdy. And over there, putting it on her schedule is Wheezy. Wait. I
Yeah.
usually say her real name first. That's Ash O'Rourke. But spoiler alert, she's also Wheezy. She's
Yeah.
Wheezy in my heart.
Yeah, near Dr. Spoon's Palermo in my heart. We realized that last episode we did not introduce ourselves, which it's been a while since we forgot to do that, but it is par for the course for all of season 1. So
Mm-hmm.
if you guys have been here from the start, hopefully that was a refreshing throwback for you guys. If you guys are new here, I will also include for your benefit the added note that we forgot last time of if you don't want to hear our nonsense and you just want to hear about the book, go to the show notes, use the skip code. God, please use the skip code so that you'll come back for another episode.
That was one of our best disclaimers yet, I have to say.
God,
Please
please
use
do
the
it.
skip
Please, I'm begging you. If you don't want the nonsense, go use the skip code. Yeah. But anyways, my dear, my love, my spoons, my waifu, how has your week been? I feel like I haven't seen you in a million years, and
I
I think
know.
it's also because I get to see you this weekend, so I'm like really excited.
That must be it because I also was feeling like I haven't seen you in a million years. Um, my week has been all right. What did I do?
I'm
You
getting
know, the
very used
week
to
goes.
that like rhythm that you say that you always go, my week has been all right, and it's like the same every time.
Oh Lord. I'm just doing doing my darndest, really. But also,
Yeah.
am I? Sometimes I'm so lazy. The
Me today all day. But you know what? A hobby was like, please God, stay in bed. So I worked in bed today because I was like, oh, I really have some stuff I have to get done, like trying to prep for the party. And he was like, do not, just stay there. And I was like, sometimes it's good to be lazy.
So true. You
Yeah.
have to do it every now and then.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mike, if you hear any noise, my cats are physically assaulting one another right behind the camera here. Juicy. Okay. I have to take Juicy to the vet tomorrow morning. That's one thing.
Oh,
Um,
oh, Lily went to the vet, and also me and mom and my brother pinned her down, put a little mask on her, and shaved her because she had so many mats she wouldn't let us get out. She's a
uh-huh.
very happy cat now, but I'm so glad that you're going to get to see her. She looks like a little shorn lamb,
Oh
except for her big fluffy
God.
face and tail. It's so cute.
Oh my God. She is. I God, yeah. I mean, she is so grumpy. I bet she was just hating that. But
Yeah, and
it's
she's
see, they
happier
always
now.
exactly like that's what how Henry is. He acts like you're actively murdering him while
That's
he's getting a
exactly what it
bath,
was
and
like. We
then
were like, I
afterwards he
hope she
prances
survives.
around.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
ooh, I look good. That's been Lily. Lily's like, wow, I'm beautiful. And also the mats aren't pulling at her skin, which it's
Yeah.
hard because we do try to clip them out all the time, but she's the grumpier she gets, the harder it is. But anyways, you were
Yep.
saying Juicy is going to the vet.
Oh, yes, she is. And she's a short haired gal, so she doesn't have mats, but you can bet I'd be terrified to get them out if she did because she is so mean. But she's going to the vet tomorrow. She's gonna get her shots. That's Taffy sneezing. Bless you.
Bless you,
Bless
Taffy.
you. Bless you. And so yeah, but thankfully the vet is only like literally 3 minutes away,
Oh,
so she will
nice.
not vomit and poop everywhere because she always gets car sick if she's in the car for
Oh,
over
I know.
15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm sure I have told everyone before. Anyway, so that's one small blessing here.
That is
uh
absolutely.
what else? I Well, I was really enjoying rereading the book for this week. That was one
Yeah.
thing. And then we'll get to it. We'll get to it. I'm not even looking at your face. And then what else? Oh, I have just been writing up a storm.
Oh,
I'm
that's
just
right.
constantly writing, having fun. I think okay, here's like the nerdiest thing I'm ever gonna reveal to anyone. But I am going to reveal it to all of the listeners. So basically, okay, so you know how sometimes people go as like their D&D characters to like the Ren Fair and stuff.
Yes.
I have some D&D characters that would be fun to do that with. But lately I have been obsessed with the idea of going to the Ren Fair as this one character I made up for this book I'm writing, which is like another level of
Wait,
dork.
hang on. If you do it, I will go with you and I will dress up as the character from my book
Oh
because that would
my
be
god.
perfect.
That would okay if you do it with me,
When are
I'll do
you
it.
going? Because Hobby was just last night, like, so when we go to the Ren Fair, and I was like, when are we going to the Ren Fair?
I
Like, I
don't know
need to
when
put this on my
I'm going,
calendar.
but
Okay,
I've
well,
been like
we should
working
go
on a
together.
costume. Okay,
Well,
great.
now I'm gonna work on a costume because I guess I was like, I guess I'm just gonna, wear what I wore last time. And Hobby's like, yeah, whatever. And like he's planning his costume and does not care at all. And I'm like, oh no, but this is perfect.
This is so exciting. Oh,
People are
great.
like, who are you? Oh, you see, we are
You see,
manifestations of our own imagination.
literally, this is a fragment of my own brain.
Do you like what you see?
The worst part is that I'm going as like a gender bent version of my own character. So it's not even it's like another layer. There's like 5 layers here.
I'm really enjoying
Oh,
that. That is really, really good.
well, nobody will know that that's what it is except for you and the 500 listeners. So
That's,
that's
yeah.
fine.
Maybe we'll run into some of them there and they'll be like, hey, that looks like a character I've never heard of anywhere. Maybe that's Dr. Spoons Palermo.
Really? It's
No,
fun.
it's great because I don't even have to like fake. My character has like a leg problem in her book. I don't even have to fake it. I'm gonna be limping around because I just do. So it's like,
Woohoo! Yeah.
woo, perfect for me.
I love that for you.
I do too.
That's extreme Lee Bardugo energy from you.
That
Because
is extremely Bardugo energy. Oh
Kaz
my God, the
and her
character
have
even
like the
has a
same thing.
cane. That's right.
Yeah.
I don't have a cane.
Uh,
Part of me is thinking I should have a cane so I can truly play the character who does have a cane. Also,
mhm.
it sounds nice for if my legs start hurting.
I mean, yeah, a little walking stick sounds pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
This is all coming together, baby.
It's all coming up Ash and Kendall. Actually, insert the names of our fictional characters.
Yeah, you guys don't get to know that. That's proprietary
Mm-hmm.
information.
That's right. It's a secret.
It's a big secret, but if you message me, I will tell you.
I will also tell you mine. TM, it is mine, and you can't have it, but I will
You
tell you.
cannot use it.
They're like,
Well,
we
how
have
about
plenty. That's fine.
yeah, they're like, please don't tell us. Um, how are you doing, bud?
I'm doing really good now that I'm drinking something.
Oh, thank
Spicy
God. Cheers to
tamarind.
that.
Yeah, cheers for
Woo-hoo.
drinking. Woo! Not an unhealthy level, you guys. We don't promote it, but also a
Mm-mm.
little drinky drink here and there is
You
very
know,
nice.
little drinky drink while you do your little podcast with your little
Yeah,
friend. Sounds
mine
pretty
is
good to me.
with your little friend. uh, Mine is spicy tamarind flavored, which is delicious. I've
Mm.
discovered is like one of my favorites. So it's delicious. I've not actually been drinking very much lately because here's some TMI for everyone. I've been trying to get pregnant for a long time and is now working. And so I'm like, I'm at the point where I was like, a couple months ago, I was like, I'm not going to do the thing where you research on the internet, like old wives' tales for how to get pregnant. And then this like last couple weeks, I was like, no, I've reached that point. So I'm like Googling the weirdest things. I'm like, how do the ancient pagan mythics tell me that I can get pregnant? I mean, the drinking less alcohol is actually something that's, promoted by current modern science. You can still drink, but like, so I'm just drinking a little bit less, and Javi's been like dipping less, so less nicotine, because nicotine, you guys, I actually checked with my doctor to make sure I wasn't just like an internet thing. I was like, I can't take this information to Javi unless I've actually gotten this from a doctor and not Google. And I was like, is it true that nicotine is like can make it really difficult to have a kid? And she was like, yes, stop doing it. I was like, you got it. Anyways,
baby, you're like, yeah, we work together.
Yeah, exactly. But I've also gone like a hot minute now without having alcohol, and so I'm like, no, it's alcohol weekend again for Ash, and I'm very excited.
Yep.
So Javi's birthday is on Saturday, and Spoons is coming over, and I will be drinking then as well. That's exciting. Yeah, and I've also kind of just given up coffee for tea because tea is better. So I just kind of for no reason at all did that. I could say it's because I'm trying to get pregnant, but it's not. I was just like, I really miss tea.
Superior.
It is superior. And I went through a couple of days of like getting like a caffeine headache because it has like half as much caffeine as coffee. But I was like, I don't need it. So
yeah, good. You made it through the eye of the storm there.
Yeah, I did. Absolutely. Is that my week? I don't know. Was that my question? Did you ask me, or did I just offer information in the middle of your story? Okay. My memory's been bad, and I know that I've already interrupted you a lot. But if you guys are watching this on our Patreon channel, because if you want to see our video recordings of the episodes, you can do that on Patreon at Story Siren Studio. You guys can see that Spoons has a new haircut, and it's beautiful.
I do. Thank you. I chopped it all off last night, and I'm happy with it. Like, my hair was like not even that long in hindsight, but it was feeling long to me. And then I was like, what if I just went really, really short? Because this is what I do. It either has to be really long for me or really short, or else I'm not happy.
I get
that. But then after I have it for a while, I'll just do the complete opposite. But this is shorter than I have had in like ever, maybe. So
yeah. It looks fabulous. It really shows off her collarbones to great advantage, which is what I said at first, but it's true. And so I'm just like staring at her collarbones right now.
Wow. Fabulous. Such a compliment.
Yeah, I love the collarbones. I feel like they're underrated. So your little like kind of like square necked blousey blouse shirt also looks fabulous. Like strong Snow White vibes also with like the haircut and the blousey blouse.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I tell you that? No problem. I'm actually working on a Snow White costume maybe for Halloween. I don't know if I said that before.
That would be fabulous. A very hugely nerdy part of myself is like, what if I dress up as a mermaid, not for the first time or even the second or third time?
And it won't be the last.
Then it definitely won't be the last. But to be Aquarius from Fairy Tale.
Ooh, you should do it.
It would be pretty cool. I would need like a blue wig and stuff. It'd be a whole lot of work. I also don't have any Halloween plans per usual, so I would just be like sitting here like a mermaid in my house myself. So maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just fantasize about it, or like just really get into the planning of it. So like when Comic-Con comes around or something, I can do that.
Yeah, and then you can just have the costume.
Yeah, and then bonus, Javi has to carry me everywhere or roll me around somewhere because I'm gonna be in a mermaid tail. Mermaids can't walk.
No, you're not allowed to walk. No,
I can't. It would break the illusion, and we can't have that. So, yep.
Well. Did we want to guys, this is such an iconic episode for us. I can already tell. I mean, it's been a long time coming, really.
This has been a long time coming since season 1, episode 1, when we got into our first on-air debate. Not our first debate by far, nor our last, but first on-air debate over the literary value of Charles Dickens.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, baby.
Yes, baby. Like
yes,
you sound like male Siri. I don't know. Not that you sound like a male, but like something about the
the inflection.
Inflection.
Also, sidebar, apparently I say the word baby in just like two different ways that really bother my husband, like really get under his skin. What? Like I think one is I say bebe or bebe and he hates it.
Like
and I
Moira
think
Rose.
I guess so, yeah. And I didn't used to do it before I watched Schitt's Creek, so that's definitely where that one comes from. And then BB, I think I just say like baby. BB. I say it.
Oh, you do that.
Yeah,
Baby?
I think he hates it. He hates it so much. And I'm like, well, now you've given me ammunition, so.
You shouldn't have told me your weakness, Holly.
Oh, exactly. But that was a sidebar and I got distracted. But yeah, so that's just my brain is going to keep doing that this episode, trying to avoid the topic, which is we are covering Great Expectations by Charles Dickens in this episode.
Look, I have 2 copies.
Boom, why am I not surprised? I should have brought my copy's different and it's also beautiful. It's a Penguin Classics. So it's like with the pretty cloth bound one.
Oh, you do have a nice one. I remember that. I really like this one. I think this one's the Barnes and Noble one. And
that's a good one.
It's
the Barnes and Noble ones are pretty.
They're so pretty. And they have like the pretty like end pages and stuff.
I love that. And like the sprayed edges, which I'm a huge fan
of. Yes, sprayed edges.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, you know what? We already did Charles Dickens' biography.
I know. It was so nice. I was folding laundry like 20 minutes ago and I was like, I should have prepped the bio. And then I was like, wait, I don't have to. It's great that I didn't prepare anything.
We already did it.
Yeah. So if you guys want it, go listen to our episode on A Christmas Carol, or at least the part where we talk about Charles Dickens.
Yes.
I think it was pretty in depth.
I think it was because he was very interesting, and also there's a lot of weird stuff going on with him.
There was perhaps some morally questionable behavior from him.
A little bit
what
of
else is new?
But lots of morally good stuff too, and then morally questionable. Everyone's
He's very far from the worst classical author. Very far from the worst. Not the best either, but he did a lot of good, and a lot of his ideas were really good, which you can tell a lot of in Great Expectations. I will give you this right up front. I do not have an issue with his talent. I think he's very talented. I think his craft is excellent.
Wow, that is way better than I ever could have expected. I seriously thought you were about to say, I hate that bitch.
No, however, that bitch did write a story in 3 volumes that could have been 1. So I do stand by that.
Strong disagree. Let's get into it.
I knew you would. This has been a long time coming, you guys. That Pretentious Book Club. This could be the end of TPBC.
Is this the end? Oh God. This feels like, like a sitcom that you see like the previews for or whatever. Like it's like a very special episode of Wizards of Waverly Place. Is this the end of the Russo siblings?
Yeah,
and you're like, oh my God, that's what's happening.
Is that. We should have prefaced it last episode. We did tease it a little bit, but this is that episode, guys. Welcome. Hope you're in for a ride and lots of drama. And am I going to be more dramatic than necessary in this episode? Yes. And I think Charles Dickens would approve because he kind of pulls that stuff. So
he's so dramatic. Like I think he'd be fine with it.
Stuart, I also realized one more sidebar because my brain is just like, please avoid this topic. You watched the show Virgin River. I think we've talked about it a little bit.
I haven't watched it really. I've seen like 2 episodes.
My mom watches it. She got me into watching it. I was very resistant. I think your mom has watched it some. I just realized upon watching it today, I was like, hang on. Is this a soap opera? I'm pretty sure it's a soap opera. And I just hadn't like connected the dots. It's like a higher cinematic quality than your typical soap opera. But I do believe it should be categorized as a soap opera. That is all.
Wow, this is some big revelations happening today.
Great Expectations could also definitely be a soap opera. Like like the hidden like familial relationships that come out.
She's been her mother the whole time.
Exactly. This could be
lots of drama.
I would enjoy it as a soap opera. Perhaps I need to see that rendition.
Ooh, yes. I would totally watch that. Okay, so I guess I'll get into it. Well, I guess I should preface by saying this copy of Great Expectations, this one right here, which is also a Barnes & Noble exclusive, but I guess it's much older because it's actually my grandma's. I stole it from her house like years ago. But one time at my grandma's house, I was like maybe 12. I didn't bring a book with me, and or like I finished a book or something. And so I was like, what does grandma have on her shelf? And Great Expectations was there. And I was like, I'll open it. And I started reading it at like 12 and I was hooked, absolutely hooked from the first page. I read
Your
like
brain works different. No way does a normal 12-year-old child pick up Great Expectations and be like, I am hooked. What happens to Pip?
I'm not making up my love for Dickens, you know, but I read a good like 50 pages of it, I guess. And then I just didn't finish it because, you know, it was my grandma's book and whatever. I like laughed and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So then after I got into Charles Dickens, after we went to go see that orphan musical,
that was
and I was like,
it was like the first thing that I did upon moving back to Texas was go with both of our moms and you to Orphans, the improv musical.
Yeah. And it was great.
It was the best thing I've seen in my entire life. It was. I would watch it again really 100 times.
But you know, they're doing a lot of riffs on like Oliver and stuff because that's a musical about orphans. So
and Newsies. Oh, hence
and Newsies and
Palermo and Wheezy.
Yeah, it was
this
exactly
really back to our origin.
Brand.
Yes, it was your brand.
That was kind of like we were becoming friends after like a long. So anyway,
yeah.
What happened? Oh yeah, so I was like, I want to watch Oliver, but then I was like, I should read Oliver before I watch it. Don't know why I had that thought. Or read Oliver Twist. So I read Oliver Twist. Then I became hooked on Charles Dickens. Then I read Great Expectations. Then I read David Copperfield. Then I started reading Tale of Two Cities. Oh, and I had always read Christmas Carol off and on. Anyway,
which one were you reading when everyone on Halloween, when everyone was still drunk and thrown up in toilets and you had already recovered and were just sitting up in bed reading?
That was my I thought it was going to be right here, but it's not. That was my collection of Charles Dickens ghost stories because it was Halloween.
Oh god, that was the most terrifying and impressive thing I've ever seen in my life. Because she had been fully drunk and taking candy from strangers not an hour before. Okay.
Well, Marianne or somebody was like puking, Marianne, and I was like, I have to there's nothing I can really do to help in this situation, so I'm just gonna sit here and stay out of the way. That's what my thought process was. So anyway, that's basically, I just wanted to give preface for why I like Good Expectations. And or like how I read it, blah blah blah. Anyway, I love Great Expectations. So I think it is my favorite Dickens book. Although I do enjoy them all.
Here, let me give you my experience with Dickens prior to this episode.
Okay.
Only knew the name, didn't know much about him, majored in English literature in college, and then in one of my classes on specifically English literature, because English literature as a degree is very deceiving. We read all kinds of literature, not just English literature. But in that specific course, we did obviously a lot of Charles Dickens. And I did write a paper about Great Expectations. I did not read Great Expectations at the time. I did pretend that I had, and I read a few excerpts from it so I could quote it. But
you were finessing the system. You knew how to get your A.
I did, and I got, well, listen, there was just no way I was going to get all that reading done. It was crazy. But I did try. I gave it the college try. I tried to start reading it, and I right away went, absolutely not. And that's why I was like, I'm just going to read excerpts from it. And so that was what I did. And then I have stayed away from Charles Dickens ever since, because my first impression of him was that he is long-winded and boring. And although as a moral philosopher, I think he was ahead of his time and did a lot of good things in like thought dispersion, I just found him so unable to tell a good story in a concise way. And that was my first impression. So we'll go to my end impression at the end of the episode after years later having actually read the whole book.
Okay.
Then
spicy.
Yeah. And then bonus thing I didn't know, Javi, my somewhat of a himbo occasionally husband, surfer skater, not what you would expect to be like, apparently took AP Lit in high school and read Great Expectations and loved it, to the point where I picked up Great Expectations and he goes, oh, is that Great Expectations? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, it's the one about Pip, right? And I was like, what? And he's like, I love that book. That's one of my favorites. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Me and Javi. Me and Javi. He'll come back
Yeah,
to me one day. He'll come back to me.
he
He'll
will
see
come
that
back to
we're
you.
the same.
Exactly, because you both like SpongeBob, you both like Great Expectations. I mean,
It's gonna happen.
I think it will happen inevitably because he's gonna be like, I cannot talk to Ash anymore. She just doesn't get me.
Oh, that's
Oh
so
God.
funny. Wow,
I
I love
know.
that.
I thought you would. Anyway, so on to Great Expectations.
On to the next. So, yes, as Javi said, the main character of Great Expectations is named Pip.
Do
His
love it,
real name
yes.
is Philip Pirrip, but
Mm-hmm.
that's too hard to say.
So Pip,
So as a child, he called himself Pip, and it
which is
stuck.
cute. Okay, Charles Dickens is very good at naming people. I'll give
He
him
is.
back that. Everything I've ever read from him.
You're so correct, bestie. I was thinking that just today. I was like, every character in this book is perfectly named.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the perfect name for them.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so Pip, we open on Pip as a young boy, wandering around the graveyard in the marshes, which is where he lives. It's kind of outside London somewhere, who knows, in
Yeah.
England.
Yeah.
And so it's very marshy, kind of foggy all the time landscape. And he goes there to like look at the graves of his dead parents.
Pretty grim.
Yeah, but like
But you
he
can
has
see why I started reading this book in college and went, absolutely not. There's an orphan wandering a cemetery to look at his dead parents' gravestones. And I was like, I'm not reading this.
but
My mental health cannot take this.
see, I can sort of see that, but to me it's also like there's the I love the dichotomy of like this creepy, sad, like kind of like this sounds horrible, like a terrible, desolate place, and this poor little orphan boy. But there's still like a hint of humor in every like in his tone, like about talking about the he thinks that the like his parents' names are literally um like his dad's name is Philip Pirrip, and then late of this parish, and also Georgiana is what he thinks his mom's name is, and also Georgiana, because they're just like written like
Yeah.
that on the gravestones, that kind of thing.
I'll give you that
So
right up front. Dickens is a lot funnier than I had given him credit for. He has a good sense of humor. He is the
he
kind of person who I feel like would take a million years to tell you his joke in person and then would explain it to you if you didn't laugh. I do feel like he would do that, but it was a funny joke to begin with.
I'll give you that. That sounds correct to me. So anyway, Pip is wandering around and he runs into this man who is clearly a convict who has escaped because these like boats full of prisoners are always going by on the
Mm-hmm.
marshes and all of this. So anyway, this guy is like basically he's like I need like and gets Pip to help him out. And Pip's older sister is married to the blacksmith in town named Joe.
He's
And
great.
so
She's
he
bad.
yes. So the guy basically threatens Pip and is like, "Oh, well, I have a friend who's hanging around, and he you can't see him now, but see, this is also funny. He's like, you can't see him, but he's definitely hanging around, and he will beat you up and kill you if you don't help me." And Pip is like, "Oh my god, no, not the friend that I can't see and doesn't appear to actually be here." So
Oh,
he like
God.
runs helps the guy out, like blah blah blah. But then on his way back, he sees that there is actually somebody nearby. And so he's like freaked out because he's like, oh my God, the guy's going to get me. He tells the convict guy, and he's like, wait, what? There's somebody else out here. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a bit of mystery. But anyway, basically, what happens is the guy ends up getting caught again and taken back on the boat and stuff. And Pip is like freaked out, and nobody knows that he helped him try to escape in the first place. Um, so Pip's kind of like living with this secret for like the
A
rest
very
for a
long
long
time.
time.
Yeah.
So his home life is interesting because his, as we discussed, his parents, late of this parish, and also are dead. And so he's like the youngest of the kids, and his older sister um took him in to raise him by hand, which is what they keep saying. but she raised him by hand. And
Oh
Pip does not
God.
know what this means. He's like, okay, sure, I guess. Nobody ever explained to me what this means. I don't think they even know what it
Oh
means.
God.
And
No, they
so
don't.
they don't. And so she is married to Joe the blacksmith, as I said, and Joe is a perfect, sweet, wonderful man.
He is.
And he and Pip are like best friends. Like he's so sweet to Pip.
Yeah.
He's almost like a surrogate dad for Pip.
Yeah.
Also like maybe cool older brother. Like it's
Yeah.
one of
He's
those.
somewhere on in that
Yeah,
range. Yeah.
somewhere like that. So they get each other and they just are always in like they're always together because Pip's older sister is terrible and always goes quote on the rampage and just like beats them up and yells at them and stuff
She's
because
crazy. I'm like, Joe,
she's
how?
wild.
Why did you pick her? Oh my God.
I know, like Joe is so sweet. It doesn't make any sense, but he's kind of still head over heels for her, even though she's so mean to him. And
Yeah.
he always says that she's a fine figure of a woman. And Pip's like,
Yes.
I don't think that's actually true, but I never argued with him.
Oh,
And
that's funny.
so they get along great and all that. Then there's also Biddy, and she like lives in
Wonderful.
town and she's around Pip's age. And they kind of hang out sometimes. Then so basically things get kicked off when Mr. Pumblechook, who is like their friend, like I don't remember who he is. He's like their friend, maybe some
The
kind of
uncle,
discernment.
but the
Yeah, he's
uncle
like
that
the
you can't call him. He didn't want to be called an uncle, I think.
yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, he's like the uncle.
He's a garbage person.
Yeah, he's also annoying. So
Yeah.
but also great name. So he basically sets up a situation in which Miss Havisham, who is this wealthy woman who lives kind of close by in this really fancy house, she
Mm-hmm.
is looking for a boy to come play at her house. And Mr. Pope, because she's eccentric and rich
She is
and
so eccentric.
very eccentric. And so Mr. Pumblechook is like, I know a boy. And they think, oh, this will be a great opportunity for Pip. You know, he's just a little blacksmith kid, but he can
Mm-hmm.
go you know, maybe get some connections or they'll pay him maybe to like hang out with this rich lady. And so they just send him off.
So sketchy.
So
Guys, do not send your child or your niece or nephew off to hang out with the eccentric wealthy person. Just
with
don't do
no
it.
supervision. It
Zero
is
supervision.
truly wild. So
Yeah,
Mr.
don't do it.
Bumblechook takes poor little Pip to Miss Havisham's house, which is called Saddest House.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's like crumbling, old, weird, creepy house, and there's like an abandoned brewery attached to it. Like it's this very weird place.
Yeah, like all the
And
clocks in it are stopped
yes,
same time.
um, yeah, they're all stopped at like 20 minutes to 9. It's very weird. It's like crumbling. The garden's overgrown. All of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's so creepy, delightfully creepy,
It
and
is
like
delightfully
weird.
creepy. Yeah.
And imagine like how foggy it is because we're still around the marshes and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, Pip goes there and he is greeted by this beautiful little girl who is about his age. Her name
Estella.
is Estella,
Mm-hmm.
and she is so mean to him.
So
She calls
mean.
him boy all the time. She clearly is like, he is trash and I'm great.
Yeah.
She loves messing with him. And so poor little Pip is just like doing whatever they tell him to do.
Yeah.
So he gets introduced to Miss Havisham, and she is this woman who she is such a good character.
She
Like
is.
how he went above and beyond. She is this woman who has been wearing her same yellowing like torn up wedding dress for like 20 years.
Since she was left at the altar.
He left at the altar. And so everything is like in the house is like untouched from that day that she got left at the altar. So she still has a room that's like there's a whole table like piled up with food and like fancy stuff and like the big wedding cake, and it's all rotting and there's cobwebs and
Oh,
there's bugs and everything in the house is dusty and like untouched. And she just like walks around and she just like walks around at night like crying and like wearing her wedding dress and like being weird and like it
yeah.
is so good. So she is a very weird lady, and so
Yeah.
basically she Pip is like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, there's like a funny line where he says like the instruction, like he like came in and Miss Havisham was like, well, boy, play. I want to see some play. And he's like, I literally had no idea what to do. Like standing by yourself with the instruction to play. He's like,
yeah.
okay. So basically he ends up like doing things from Havisham, like, you know, walking with her around the room, like to get her exercise, or like playing cards with Estella, that kind of thing. He's just kind of like there for whatever she needs him to do.
Yeah, she kind of becomes kind of like an errand boy who just hangs around a lot.
Yeah, so he'll like come every now and then. She'll just be like, come again in like 2 days or whatever. So he'll like come back. So he just does this off and on, and is not getting paid for it at the moment. So
no, and there's still weird, no explanation. Like... It was very odd. I was like, what is happening?
It's so wild. And so yeah, but he is already has decided that he is like completely obsessed with Estella because she's so beautiful and so mean to him. And so he cannot stop thinking about her.
She's never nice to him. I'm like, at what point did you fall in love with this girl?
Not once. Like there's one part where she like lets him kiss her cheek or whatever, and then she's mean to him about that too. There's like so many weird things. And then one time Pip comes back and all these people are there, and he finds out it's Miss Havisham's birthday. So all these people who are related to her come on her birthday, but they never mention what day it is because she'll freak out. So Miss Havisham is kind of like, you know, being mean to everybody and whatever. But they're kind of sycophants because they just want like she's so rich and they kind of just like want to suck up to her and like whatever. So they'll do anything. So Pip is kind of like gets kind of spurned by those people. He goes out to the courtyard and they're just sometimes will be like, go away, and then they like bring him a sandwich or whatever. So he's like walking around, it's like in the snow. He's like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. So and weird. This boy is in the courtyard too, and Pip's like, oh, another person. And the boy comes up and Pip starts calling him in his head the pale young gentleman. So the pale young gentleman comes up and is like, hi. And Pip's like, well, hello. And the pale young gentleman is like, okay, so let's fight. And Pip is like, what? And the pale young gentleman is like, yeah, come on, let's fight. So he like takes his jacket off and he's like skinny and pale and like does not look strong at all. He like has like a water bottle there to like help him out in the middle of the fights. But Pip's like, okay, because he doesn't know what to do. And so they start to fight, but it's really not a fight because Pip will just hit him once and the pale young gentleman will fall down and be like, oh, good shot, and then get back up and like try and fight him again.
This was so weird. This was so weird. I was like, what the hell is going on?
So funny. And so then Pip keeps like hitting him and being like, I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble for this. He's like not even trying, but he keeps winning. And so then finally the pale young gentleman is like, well, all right, good fight. And he just leaves. And Pip is like, that was the worst and weirdest experience of my life. So,
and he's had a lot of worst and weird experiences thus far.
No.
We're not even close to the worst and weirdest yet.
No, it gets a lot weirder and worse from here.
Yes.
So basically, I only mention that because it is a character we will meet again later. But so blah blah blah, all this is going on. Pip's growing up, and then Pip gets old enough to where I don't know exactly how old he is, but he's like gonna be like apprentice to Joe, who, you know, is a blacksmith. And so Miss Havisham is like, well, I guess you should probably stop coming around here then. And so she pays him like a bunch of money for all of his services throughout the years. And he's like, okay, great. But he's already kind of got it in his head that like going back to Joe is like a step down because Estella is constantly like berating him about like being common and coarse and all of that. And Pip like now wants more than anything to be like a fancy gentleman,
to be worthy of Estella.
Yes.
Who's garbage.
Yes, who was never nice to him.
Ever.
So he's like reluctantly goes back to be apprentice to Joe. So anyway, around this time his sister gets like attacked randomly, and then it's basically like handicapped, and she like
Yeah.
can't do things for herself and all of this, and like her
She
like
can't
she
even
can't
like really
talk.
communicate very
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
it's like really messed up. So
Hmm. So Biddy's like her
Biddy
full-time
comes
care
and
kind taker.
yeah, Biddy
Yeah.
comes to help take care of her. So blah blah blah. Fast forward. Pip, this man comes, and Pip has seen him before at Miss Havisham's house, and his name is Jaggers, and he's a lawyer from London. And
Hmm.
he shows up randomly, and it's like, Pip, you have great expectations.
This is
And
what I'm saying. And then in this like chapter, he says the word great expectations like 10 times, and I'm like, understood. Okay. Got it. The
I was like,
expectations are
this is
not
the title of the
mediocre.
book, you
They're
guys.
great.
They're great.
Yes.
um, so yeah, so Jaggers is like, you have a secret patron who doesn't want to reveal themselves, but they're going to give you a lot of money and like basically set you up in London to be a gentleman. And
Hmm.
Pip is like, excellent news. This is exactly what I wanted. And so of course he's like, okay, Miss Havisham's doing this.
Hmm.
Because he's kind of stayed in contact with her
Yeah.
throughout the years. He like goes every year on his birthday and stuff to see her.
Yeah.
So he's like, I mean, of course, Miss Havisham's doing it, but okay, if she wants to pretend like she's not, that's fine.
Yeah.
So Jaggers is like, okay, I'll be your guardian when we're in London and blah blah blah. So Pip just I think at this point he's probably a late teen. So
Yeah.
he gets all fancy and gussied up, and he goes to London, and he
He
is
has some scene like with Biddy before he leaves where he says that he wishes he could fall in love with her, but he can't. And I'm like, you're being
yes.
a total twerp right now.
Yeah, that scene is crazy. Yeah, he's like, wouldn't
Yeah.
it be so nice if I could just fall in love with you, Biddy? And she's like, LOL. Okay, bye. See you later.
So freaking weird.
Pip's
Yeah.
already becoming a little insufferable. So
Yeah, he hits
he gets
he becomes insufferable for a
Pip has
while.
some ups and downs.
Yes, he does.
So he shows up in London, and he meets and is staying with um basically this boy. So basically he shows up to this house, and this boy Herbert Pocket is supposed to meet him, and Herbert is related to Miss Havisham, as they like
Hmm.
are, know that Miss Havisham did this for Pip, so they're like, okay, we're taking care of him, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So Herbert Pocket walks in a little late, and he's carrying like groceries, and he's got like a bowl of
Fruit.
strawberries, and
Yeah.
he's like, oh, so sorry, I'm like, I did all this so that you'd be comfortable. Please make yourself at home. And as soon as he looks up, they both are like, oh my God, because it is the pale young gentleman. And so Herbert goes, it's you, the wandering boy, or whatever. And Pip is like, it's the pale young gentleman. And then they're like,
God.
yay! And they like are so excited.
Yeah, they're like, whoa. And they're
Oh
like
my
happy about it. And I'm like, there's no like concern at all.
oh funny. Herbert was like, oh, so sorry I had to do that to you, old chap. I hope it wasn't too bad for you, or whatever. And Pip's like, if that's the way he wants to remember it, that's fine. I'm not going to correct him and just let him know that I beat his ass 7 times or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and Herbert is absolutely delightful.
He
He is a
is.
sweet, wonderful, kind boy.
Yeah.
And so he and Pip like immediately become best friends. And Pip kind of is like, hey, so like I'm from the marshes. I was apprenticed to a blacksmith. I do not know anything about being fancy. If you could just like kindly give me advice
Some
or like
pointers. Yeah.
chastisement pointers if you see me
Yeah.
doing something not fancy, that'd be great. So like there's this whole cute scene where Herbert's like telling him all he knows about like Miss Havisham and all this. What? And
Hmm.
then every now and then he'll be like, "Oh, Pip, old chap, you want to hold your spoon the other way," that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. I
But
enjoyed that immensely.
it's very cute. But Herbert decide there, I guess Handel, the composer, has a song about a blacksmith, and so Herbert is like, I don't really like the name uh
Philip for you.
Philip, so can I just call you Handel? And he's like, okay. So the rest of the book, Herbert calls him, oh my dear Handel,
Yeah.
which is cute.
Yeah.
So they
And
are immediately
he's the
besties.
one who reveals like Miss Havisham's backstory, right?
Mm-hmm. So he
Yeah.
tells Pip then about like Miss Havisham getting, thank you, left at the altar, which basically was this whole crazy thing where her like half brother and this guy who she was getting engaged to like went in on this scam together, basically to like scam her out of money and stuff.
Hmm.
and then he didn't show up for the wedding because he wasn't in love with her. And he was like
Yeah.
married, I think. So it was
Yeah.
this whole crazy thing. And I'm gonna do a little sidebar. There is this show called Dickensian. I don't know if I've ever mentioned,
I
but it's
feel
called
like you have.
Dickensian. It ran for one season because it is literally just Charles Dickens fan fiction, basically. And so, but it's like set before great. It's so crazy. The main plots that are happening are like beginning book Oliver Twist stuff, um, some Christmas Carol stuff, like
Interesting.
Marley dying, and then also the main plot is like this prequel Great Expectations plot line. So a lot
That
of it is
sounds
about
very interesting.
Miss Havisham is like a main character, but it's when she's like young and hot, and
Mm-hmm.
then like Arthur, her brother, Compeyson, everybody's in it. But you
Interesting.
want to know something crazy?
Yes.
The guy who plays her brother Arthur is Joseph Quinn, aka Eddie from Stranger Things.
What?
Yeah. And I didn't realize until like, of course, like this year. I was like, well, I feel like I've seen him before. I looked it up. I'm like, oh my God, he's Miss Havisham's evil gay brother from Dickensian.
When did Dickensian come out?
It came out like it's gotta be 7 years ago or something because I watched it in
Okay.
college.
Interesting.
But it got canceled after
Wow.
one season.
What a
But
shame. The
I was
best shows
like,
do.
I know, but also like it wasn't that good of a show. I think I was the only target audience, like me and British people. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, that all of that to say, the ending of that show is crazy because it's the day that Miss Havisham gets left at the altar and she
Mhm.
like gets Estella. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's so
And so you're
interesting.
like,
Here's where the
but
truth comes out, you guys. Spoons loves to riff on the Brits, but it's only because she's ashamed of how much she loves you and your
listen,
cultures and your
y'all have
stories.
fun stuff going on, okay? I can't help it if your literature is the best. I'm
It is,
sorry.
yeah. So she's actually obsessed, but like a child at recess with a crush,
Yeah,
she's gonna act really mean to you guys, but it's
that's
all
exactly
because
what
she
it
has a
is.
crush.
Oh, true. So
That's so
true.
good.
Uh, so anyway, blah 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 blah. Sorry, I went on that tangent, but I thought it
You're
was
good.
relevant.
That was definitely relevant.
So yeah, so he tells the whole story about Miss Havisham and all that, and Pip is like, "Whoa, that's crazy." So then, Pip, wanted, so Jaggers, the lawyer, who is Pip's guardian now,
Mm-hmm.
he has like a partner named Mr. Wemmick, and Wemmick
Yes,
is iconic and amazing, and he is so funny, and he's like
he
this
is.
really nice guy. Jaggers is kind of mean and serious, but
Mm-hmm.
Wemmick is like really nice, and just like he and Pip get along so well.
Yes.
So Pip get Pip like gets invited over to his house and stuff, and Wemmick is so funny. The things he always goes on about are having portable property,
Yep.
keeping your business and personal life separate, and how much he loves his dad, who he calls the aged parent. So
It is
Pip,
so funny.
he's so good. He's one of my favorites. So Pip
He
goes
is an odd
over to
one,
his
but very
house.
sweet.
He's
Yeah.
so eccentric. And his house is like this weird, like there's like a moat and like it's like a castle, basically. He calls it the castle. And there's
Uh-huh.
like a drawbridge to like go inside. It's like crazy. And so Pip goes over to hang out, and the aged parent is there, and he's this old man who's so nice but has no idea what's going on ever. Like he
Yeah.
can't hear a thing, and he's kind
Yeah.
of flighty. And so Wemmick will just be like, well, hello there, aged P. Like he has different, he calls him like AP, aged parent, aged P. It's very funny.
It is
And
funny.
so, and then he's like, oh, hello, John. And so Pip just like hangs out with them. Wemmick has like this girlfriend who comes over also, and she also
Mhm.
like knows the secret of the drawbridge or whatever. So they just like hang out, and it's like the best time ever. And Pip's like,
Mhm.
this is awesome. I love it here.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just fun stuff. But basically, Pip feels bad because he and Herbert are spending so much money being fancy guys.
Yeah.
But Herbert has like no prospects basically, and like Miss Havisham, even though he's related to Miss Havisham, like it's like I don't really care for the Pockets because Matthew Pocket, Herbert's dad,
Mhm.
um, like what did he do? He like didn't help her or something. He did something weird like years and years ago about when during the whole thing.
Was he the one who tried to tell her that something was afoot and she sent him
Maybe
away?
I
Was
think
that
that might
him?
have been it or something like that. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
now it's like this whole thing. They had like a big fight about it and now they're not talking anymore.
Yeah.
So, but Matthew Pocket's really nice. The other pockets are like kind of crazy. Like they're
Yeah.
fine, I guess, but like everything's crazy. And they
Yeah.
also have another boarder named Bentley Drummel, which is also the perfect name for this character,
It
Bentley
is.
Drummel.
Bentley
Um,
Drummel.
and I also think Herbert Pocket is a perfectly wonderful name for
It's
Herbert
adorable.
because it's very like bright and like fun, but like kind
Yes.
of dorky at the same time. And
Yeah.
Pocket is such a
Somehow
good last
Herbert
name.
just is kind of a dorky name because I named a character in one of my books Herbert. And it is just like it has the sweetest, dorkiest vibes, and I love it so much.
Yes, it's so good. So yeah, so there's all the pockets and blah blah blah. Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
No,
What
you're
comes
good.
next? Oh, Estella, I forgot.
Oh, she's hot now.
Estella is
She's all
hot
grown
and
up and
grown up.
hot now. Yeah.
Yep. And so Pip is just more in love than ever. I think he went and saw her. Yeah, he saw her before he left to go to London. And so
Hmm.
he's just like, oh my God, I'm completely in love with Estella.
She's still a very
Um,
cold-hearted queen.
yes.
She basically tells him, "You should know that I'll never love you. I'll never love anyone. I don't have feelings of love
She
in my heart towards any human. I have no sympathy
literally,
in me." Yeah.
she was like, I don't have a heart, Pip. And he's like, okay, you don't mean that though. And she's like, I really mean it. I don't have a heart. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay, but I am in love with you. So anyway, Estella comes to live nearby.
Hmm.
She's staying with these people. And I love the way she describes it. It's so funny. She has such a funny way of saying things. Like, he's like, oh, why are you going to live with them? And she's like, it's a matter of them showing me to people and me going places with them or something like
Yeah.
that. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay.
He was like, "So you're
Sounds
looking
about
forward to it
right.
then?" Like, it's weird.
Yeah. It's
Is this
so funny.
after he like goes and he goes to Miss Havisham's house? He hasn't been for a while, and that's when he first sees Estella like all grown up. And basically, Miss Havisham gets really weird and intense, and she's like,
Right.
"Are you in love with her? Isn't she beautiful?" And
Yeah.
he's
It gets,
basically like can't hide the fact that yes, he's obviously in love with her. And then she gets like really intense, and she's like, "You need to love her, Pip, no matter what." And she's like clearly way too personally invested in this.
yes. Good
It's
point.
not
Yeah.
clear why.
That's like right before he goes to London's when he goes to
Yeah.
like wish her off because he is like, well, she is the one who's doing this for me, so I better go say hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when Estella's there. And so yeah, Miss Havisham is like weirdly so into it. And she's always been like this. She's always been like,
Hmm.
don't you think she's pretty, Pip? And all of that. And
Yeah.
he's like, yes. uh, so Pip and Estella keep hanging out, and Pip is like, I feel like this is the thing where it keeps getting worked out so that I will get to hang out with Estella. Like, she'll be like, Pip, you're supposed to come see me off at the train station or whatever.
Yeah.
Or not train, but
Never, I want you to come see me off at the train station. She's like, we're supposed to. She's like, this is what we're supposed to do. So we're going to. But she tells him, like, she's like, I don't love you and will never love you or anyone. I'll never love anyone ever.
yeah.
And
But Pip
he's
is
like,
like,
I feel like I could change that. And it's like,
yes.
sweetheart,
Pip's
I don't
like,
think you
okay,
can.
but what if I'm built different though?
What if I'm built different?
And he feels so strongly that like he and Estella are meant to be together. Like Miss
Hmm.
Havisham is orchestrating it so that they'll be together. And Estella's not obviously knows this and she's not saying anything contrary. So he's like, okay, this must be the case.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because he's always like, I mean, every second I'm with her, I'm in deep agony, but I'm in love with her.
He's like, but I also never want to be separated from her. And I was like,
Yeah.
so you're a masochist.
Oh my
Like,
God, he really
buddy.
is. Like,
Yeah. But this is
baby
alarming
boy.
too, because like he has essentially, I know part of me is probably supposed to be like, wow, the depth of his love for Estella, even in the face of all this adversity. But all I can't get past is, hang on, this child was essentially like called from his home and groomed to fall in love with this girl who, spoiler, was groomed to never fall in love with anyone and to just break hearts, to be a heartbreaker.
Yeah,
And
I
that
mean,
horrifies me that he was groomed to fall in love with her. And now he is, as far as he knows, completely sincerely in love with her. I'm like, how much of this would have you have actually been in love with her if it had not been orchestrated this way as much as possible?
no, it's definitely like messed up for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think some of it has to be Pip because like
Yeah.
I feel like Herbert has always hated her. You know what I mean? Like, this wouldn't have happened to Herbert.
That's true. I think Pip is largely, I think his initial falling in love was A, grooming, B, circumstance, because they were just around each other, and then C, the man just, you know, fell in love because his eyes were like, look at that hot girl. Like, she's so hot. I truly think he was like, she's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, and therefore I will choose to love her forever. And I'm like, looks aren't everything, Pip. And every other man in the world, and women, but mostly men in this case.
Seriously, shape up. I also think Estella was symbolic to him of like this other life he could have.
That's very true.
You know, he was like just this poor little marsh boy. Yeah. So he's kind of like
marsh boy
had this idea, like, you know, he kind of got plucked from his circumstances, and so he's like kind of wants to stay there. So one of the ways he thinks he could stay there is like being with Estella.
That's very
there's
true.
A lot going on with it, and it's I don't think Dickens specifically wants us to like it that much. I don't think that's really what he's going for. I think it's almost just like this weird situation that you have to be like, okay,
no, I think you're supposed to be kind of cringy, and you're like, part of you almost wants the circumstances to change so that she would have feelings for him, and then part of you is like, Pip, you're way too good, please just let her go.
I
think
so
you're not supposed to like it. It is upsetting. It's so much more dramatic than it needs to be, and the sweet boy will not listen to her. She's like, I'm telling you the truth, and he's like,
I know,
I don't believe you.
That is one of the things about Estella that I find so fascinating. I think she's a very interesting character.
She is,
and you end up, I don't know, I personally like, she drives me insane and I'm mad at her for a lot of it, but then you also feel very bad for her, I think. Like,
the more and more you learn about her, you're like, oh God.
And she's like kind of being as nice as she thinks she can be, like, because she's basically being like, listen, I will break your heart, like, and she tells him straight up, and he's like, and that's her
being nice, because otherwise she's really just going around town breaking people's hearts on purpose, because she kind of feels like it's her job to do that, but she doesn't warn any of them, so she's really being as nice as she knows to be.
She tells him that at one point, she's like, listen, I'm nicer to you than anybody else, so you better so they have this weird thing going on. Herbert, it also has a GF, not that Estella is Pip's GF, but Herbert has a GF. Her name is Clara.
Adorable.
And very cute.
I wish them all the best.
I know, so cute. Herbert is so cute and sweet. So anyway, all this is going on. Pip's sister dies. Pip has to go back, and everything is like very weird with like, he like kind of doesn't want to hang out with Joe and Biddy. He's like, feels like he's above it all now.
I think Biddy kind of scolds him, and they get in a bit of a tiff again.
Because she's correct. She's like, you're not going to come back, and he's like, of course I will, Biddy. And then he's like, I will never come back. Like, and Joe is weird around him now, because like Pip's fancy now, and Joe feels kind of like he doesn't know how to hang out with him anymore. It's like sad. So everything's kind of weird. So then after this, I'm gonna fast forward to the important bits. Somebody shows up during a rainstorm at Pip's house. I love that it's a dark and stormy night. It's so good.
That's what it is you're a sucker for a dark and stormy night. Anything that happens on the marshes.
I really am. So true.
You say marshes? Say no more. I am in.
I'm there. So this guy shows up at Pip's door on a dark and stormy night, and Pip is like, ugh, what the heck is going on? And guess who it is, you guys? It is the convict from the very beginning of the book, from chapter 1.
That's right. And he came back, you guys.
He came back,
this is volume 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the gun was planted, and now it's back, baby.
Yeah.
So he's back, and he's like, Pip, my boy, I'm your patron. And Pip is like, what? It has not been Miss Havisham this whole time. It has been this random convict. His name is Magwitch, from the very beginning of the book. So he basically got out of his situation. He ended up making some money, and he's been sending Pip all this money and secretly being his patron from abroad, because he's not allowed to go back to England, because if he shows up, he will get hanged. So Jaggers, who was his lawyer, has been orchestrating all of this, and of course Jaggers never said anything. It was a secret.
And Miss
So
Havisham has been intentionally leading Pip to think it was her.
on.
She doesn't know who the patron is, but she was like, this will benefit me in my mean plan to have him fall in love with Estella to see her crush his heart.
Yep.
And so she just lets him believe it. And everyone else also thinks that.
Yes. So everyone else, they've also been going out of their way because they want to get on Miss Havisham's good side and they think Miss Havisham wants good things for Pip. But she doesn't actually, she wasn't even the patron after all. So basically everyone has been getting led on and not told the truth. And Magwitch, this random guy, has, well, not so random, we find out, but he has been the one who's been Pip's patron, and Pip is gutted because this means so many things. It means he doesn't actually have good connections. It means it's kind of shameful that this weird random criminal has been the one giving him money. And this means that he and Estella were not at all meant for each other, and Miss Havisham has no intentions of like encouraging them to get married. So basically everything is in shambles, and now he feels bad too because he's put the pockets out. So everything is a mess. And so he's freaking out. Poor Magwitch has no idea of this, though. He's just like, you never thought it was going to be me? And he's like, I literally never, ever had the thought cross my mind one single time in my whole life.
Yeah. And Magwitch is like, I thought about you every day. Super intense, man.
This is, you know what? This is, oh my God. Wait, sorry. I'm doing an analysis really quick. I took this class called Literature in the Uncanny when I was in college. This is exactly the trope of the return of the repressed, which is one of the things that makes literature uncanny. Where it's like something that you've hidden, where one of the characters is like hidden or tried to forget about, comes back in like a weird way that's unexpected.
Interesting. Classic literature does do that a lot.
Yes,
usually
but I would
really
say this
jarring
is
way.
This is a perfect uncanny book. Like lots of weird imagery, and then anyway, this is total turn of the repressed.
Yeah.
So yes, you're right, because then there's lots of family stuff later, like you know, soap opera that you mentioned.
Yes.
So basically, Pip is freaking out, and he's so embarrassed and upset. Herbert comes back, and Pip has to tell Herbert everything, and Herbert's like, "Okay, we'll figure it out, buddy. Don't even worry, because he's a real one." And so all this is going on. Basically, though, later, I'm just gonna skip ahead because we're going too long. But they find out later that people are on to Magwitch, like, and so if he gets caught, he's gonna get hanged. So they are like, oh my God, we have to get Magwitch out of the country, because Pip's like, I cannot have this guy's blood on my hands. Because he came back just to see Pip. So they are concocting a plan to get Magwitch out of the country. Also, Bentley Drummle has been like sort of seeing Estella also, which makes Pip insane because he hates Bentley Drummle. And he's like, oh my God, like Estella could do so much better. So there's this one part where oh my God, one of the best scenes in the whole book. He goes back to, after he finds out Magwitch is not his real patron, he goes to Sada's house to confront Miss Havisham, and Estella is there. And so he basically is like, listen, I know you're not my patron, and it was really messed up of you to make me think that you were. And Miss Havisham's like, I never said that I was. And he's like, well, you led me on. And she's like, yeah, I did. And he's like, well, was that kind? And she's like, who am I to be kind? She straight up says that. And he's like, yeah, she does. You know, I don't know what I expected. So he's like, kind of like, well, I'm freaking done with you guys, and I'm really mad, and I'm upset. And they're like, okay.
They're like, that was kind of our plan anyways, so for a different reason, but still.
And the Pip is like, you know what, it is messed up that you have made it your mission to like ruin everyone's life, because your life was ruined, Miss Havisham, all this. And I'm like, he's correct. And it's so Miss Havisham is like, so what if like is so beautiful and you can't stop loving her and all of that. And so then basically they reveal Estella is getting married to Bentley Drummle, and Pip is like, what the hell? Because he's like, well, basically I am in love with you. And she's like, I know, but that means literally nothing to me. And he's like,
love means nothing to me. I just picked Bentley just cause, and I don't love him either, but
I know. And so Pip is like, very upset. And he's like, okay, I guess I'm going. And they're like, okay, bye.
It's
So
awful. And also she says something like she's only her nature, and her nature is what was intentionally crafted by Miss Havisham. So we kind of like this all comes to the head, at least as far as Estella's story goes, for why she is the way she is that Miss Havisham adopted her specifically to raise a girl to break the hearts of men and basically to be unable to love, to receive or give love, as revenge for her heart being broken by being left on the altar.
Yep.
Which is insane. Some seriously effed up shit, you guys.
It is so effed up, but it's like kind of delightfully terrible, you know?
And that's
like,
the whole reason that she had Pip come out there as a kid, was so Estella could basically practice breaking his heart.
It is so awful. Bad. And so he's like, well, that was really mean to do to me. I was just a little guy, and now I'm in love with Estella. And they're like, okay, yeah, so what?
They're like, basically, our plan went exactly to plan. Yeah. It's exactly what we wanted to happen.
I forgot to mention it, but there was a scene like earlier when Pip and Estella went to Sada's house where you actually see Estella like getting mad at Miss Havisham like only once.
Yes, she does have a moment.
She's basically, she has like a moment where she's like, I'm exactly what you made me to be. Like, so don't get mad that I'm not showing you enough affection because you never made me to do that. Like all of this and blah, blah, blah. Exactly. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is crazy.
I was hoping it'd be a change. Yeah. But then the next time we see Estella and Miss Havisham together, she's kind of back to accepting her role as someone who does not give or receive love.
Yep.
Or even know what it is.
She's very awful. She's very cold and she knows it. It's wild. Yeah. Oh yeah, so Pip is like, well, I guess my life is terrible. So he goes back to London, and as he's going back, he gets a message from Mr. Wemmick that's like, don't go home. And that's when they figure out that people are after Magwitch, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So through a weird series of events, Pip finds out that Magwitch is actually Estella's real dad, and Jaggers' house maid basically is Estella's real mom. So because Jaggers represents seemingly everybody in the London area, he kind of like it's this whole weird thing where that's what it is. And so he had Estella, like Estella's mom gave her to Jaggers basically to like give to somebody else.
Like, because she was on trial, right? For murdering another woman.
Because
she was jealous.
Because she was jealous. Because Magwitch, I guess, probably used to be hot. I don't know. So we also find out that Magwitch used to work with Compeyson, who, as we have learned, is the guy who left Miss Havisham at the altar. Yep. So there is a lot going on and a lot is being revealed.
And apparently everybody is in some way connected to somebody else in London and the marshes of London at this time.
I know, it's a lot of coincidence.
I was like, no way.
Yeah, it's truly like, what? So, oh
god.
So that is crazy. And so the person that Pip saw on the marshes in chapter 1 was Compeyson.
Yes.
And if you think about the fact, I'm pretty sure this was serialized. I think it was. If you think about it, that is crazy that he would thought that far in advance. Like there are so many things.
I thought about that a lot, but part of me was like, what if he didn't? What if he was, because if he was writing it in like serial form, what if he was just like, and what kind of crazy twist could I pull next? And he just kind of had a faint idea beginning, and then he was just like, oh, I know.
Maybe so, who knows? But there are a lot of things that like everything does kind of go back to like the first chapter, which is crazy.
It does.
Like,
but you know, soap operas do that too, and they're written by a bunch of people over like a long period of time, and they'll randomly pull out some character from way in season 1, and you're like, what is happening?
That's true.
I don't know.
He was writing a soap. He really was.
I think he would be great. He would have the most successful soap opera of our day if he was living now.
I mean, I'd be seated. I'd be watching every week.
I would watch his soap opera. Would I read his books? Still probably not, but I would watch his soap opera.
So all of this is getting revealed, but only like Pip and Herbert know all this stuff. So they go through with their plan to get Magwitch out of the country, and things go. Oh wait, no, I forgot. Before they do this, Pip gets a letter to go back to the marshes. Because somebody has information about. Oh my god, no, I totally forgot another big part. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
When Pip
I just
goes
remembered
back,
it.
he goes to see Miss Havisham once again for some reason, and Miss Havisham is freaking the F out because Estella has married Bentley Drummle and now she's like having a crisis of self. And she's
Mhm.
like, what have I done? Why did I make her like this? And I'm sorry, Pip, and I was terrible to
Yeah.
you and all of this. And so
Yeah.
Pip is like very polite, and he's honestly better than I would be. And he
Oh
was
yeah.
like, listen, it's okay, like it'll be fine. Like I've kind of gotten over it, even though he hasn't.
He's like, I had bigger fish to fry at this point.
Yeah.
Like trying to get a convict escaped back out
Yeah.
of the country.
It's like I literally have so many problems right now that this is not even my top problem, and I
No.
was not thinking about it. So Miss Havisham is freaking out, and she ends up like getting caught on fire, and so
Mhm.
her wedding dress that she's been wearing for years and years gets like burned off of her, and she gets all these injuries, and Pip gets burned too while he's trying to help her.
Mhm. Very
Um,
symbolic, by the way.
yes. Oh my god, it's
Mhm.
so good, right?
Yes, it
Uh,
is.
and so that is crazy shit. And yeah, like really crazy.
Yeah, that
So
was
Pip,
wild. She doesn't die, but she's basically like an invalid now.
yeah, she's, I mean, she's probably not even that old, honestly, but
No, probably not.
I don't think she took care of herself that well.
No.
So,
Undoubtedly not.
I bet she smelled bad. Um,
Probably.
so Pip went but Pip, and after this, blah blah blah, he gets a message to go back to the marshes because somebody has information about Magwitch. So he's like, oh, I better go.
Mhm.
So he shows up and gets basically kidnapped by this guy Orlick, who used to work at the
The
blacksmithy
blacksmith.
place with Joe.
Also, isn't he the one who attacked his sister?
Yes, he was the one who basically ended up killing his sister, and
Yeah.
he's mad because he always had a crush on Biddy, and Pip was always trying to thwart him because Biddy hated him, and
Yeah.
also he's mad because Pip basically got him fired from his job at Status House that he had for a little bit.
Yeah, because he
So
was like, hey, that guy's bad news. And they were like,
yeah,
oh, okay, we'll fire him.
and they were like,
So,
okay, good, so we'll
because
get
he
rid of
is,
him.
he's a total dick.
He's
He's
the
an
worst guy
awful
ever.
person. He's a straight villain. He's
Yeah.
awful.
Oh, he's totally a villain. And it's like
Uh-huh.
kind of a surprise villain because you don't think
Mm-hmm.
about him all the time. And then you're like, oh shit, it's Orlick.
Like
So
he's back.
he's back, baby. So
Yeah.
he tries to kill Pip, literally tries to murder him, which is
Mm-hmm.
pretty wild because like it's like, whoa, this is a big plot point.
Yeah.
Like a big thing happening. Pip
Mm-hmm.
almost dies, but then
But may I
Herbert
make the
comes.
argument that it wasn't that necessary?
No, it's totally unnecessary.
There was so much going on. This was my thing with Dickens. I was like, and this was okay. If it was a serial, I can see why, you would do that. You might have like a tossaway serial here and there while you're like building up to like, the really big one. But in novel form, I would have taken this and some other things out. Like, it's not necessary. Trust me, there's more than enough going on. We don't need this.
You know what? I do agree with you. I think that it's a fun scene because it's like a big thing to happen. Like, oh, our main
Mm-hmm.
character almost dies. But I
Yeah.
do think it probably plays better in the serial form because you're
Yes.
like reading, like hanging on every week. So this is
Yeah.
probably an exciting thing to happen, like while you're waiting for the big climax.
Yeah.
But if you're writing it just as a novel, it's like, okay, well, what does this accomplish? Not that much.
Yeah.
Um,
Strongly
Although he
agree.
does kind of start, I will say that I think that this is one of the things that makes him really start to be like, I have not been a good person. Because he's like about to die and he's like, I wish that I could hang out with Joe and Biddy, and I'm sorry for what I did to them and all of this.
Yeah.
So I guess there's that thing that happens, but I mean, probably he could have found a different way to do it.
Oh, yeah.
But so anyway, that happens, but Herbert ends up saving him.
Mm-hmm.
So Pip is
The
like,
pale young
I mean,
gentleman who could not
the
put this
pale
out in
young
a fight.
gentleman comes again. So uh, this is just like a series of horrible things happening to Pip. It's just bad thing after bad thing, really, now that I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it. Because after this is when they're like, the next day, they're like, okay, here goes our big plan to get Magwitch out of the country before he gets killed.
Yeah.
So Pip's like, awesome. I'm glad that I didn't get murdered, so I could help do this plan. I'm really in a great headspace emotionally and mentally, and
Oh God.
everything's going great. and I'm very happy with my life. Which is not
this is all sarcasm, obviously.
Yes.
He's
totally
like, I'm not a gentleman anymore. I have no prospects of being a gentleman, and I've
a lot of
alienated
debt.
my only friends. I have so much debt.
Yeah.
Estella will never love me.
Nothing is coming up Pip at all. So he and Herbert are doing their plan, and their plan is basically to like row Magwitch out of, they're basically like on a boat for a long time. Blah blah blah. All this stuff is going on. Then this crazy stuff happens where while they're like trying to get him out, this ship shows up and they're like gonna arrest Magwitch. And guess who's there? Compeyson, who they've already gotten, I think. And so Compeyson and Magwitch get in another fight.
Yeah.
And Compeyson ends up dying. And then they arrest Magwitch. And so it didn't work. But he's also extremely injured and sick now.
Yes. And he gets sentenced to death anyways. But he's kind of like, this is what God meant for me. I'm at peace. I've done what I did for Pip. And he's like kind of like chill with things.
Yeah, he's kind of vibing now. And Pip's like, okay, well, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Because not only is he's kind of like grown on him because he's like this guy who, you know, was sort of the founder of Pip's money and like came risk his life to come see him, but he's also Estella's real dad. So there's like all this going on. So Pip is like goes to see him like every day in the jail and stuff, but he's like not gonna make it. He's like dying. So he ends up dying, but before he dies, Pip tells him like, hey,
you have
your
a daughter and
is gorgeous, and I'm in love with her. And Magwitch ends up dying, and it's crazy. And so then Pip, after this, falls into a deep sickness and is just like horribly ill for like months, apparently.
And the debt collectors come and they try to remove him, but he basically is so sick, they're like, we'll just leave you here. We can't do anything.
They're like, oh, we're supposed to arrest you because you're so in debt, but I guess we'll just leave you. So Pip, through his like, you know, muddled memories and like ability to see and be awake, keeps like seeing Joe, and he's like, oh, I miss Joe. Turns out it is Joe. Joe came to take care of him while he's sick, which is so sweet. So Joe's been taking care of him because we always were the best of friends, Pip. And
what larks. What larks together.
Oh,
that's his little thing he says to Pip. It's very cute.
Larks. So cute. So when Pip gets better, he's just completely touched, and he finds out that Joe also paid off all his debts, so now he doesn't have to go to jail. Joe is the nicest, sweetest man in the world. Joe is just
like, has he ever done anything wrong ever? Like, he's just a perfect human. Aside from apparently marrying Pip's sister, which was very questionable.
Right. I do have some questions about his second choice of wife as well, but
I do as well.
I'm just willing to be like, listen, it was like 1830. It'll be okay. I
am willing to be okay with it just because of who Joe and Biddy are as people.
Yes. Spoiler alert, Joe and Biddy end up getting married. But so Pip, when he's well enough, because Joe like leaves because it's so sad, because he kind of feels like, well, I did what I could for Pip, and now he probably doesn't want me in his life anymore because he's a gentleman and all of this. So he goes back to the marshes. Sad. Herbert shows up and is like, Pip, so me and Clara were talking, and Pip has sort of orchestrated behind the scenes for Herbert to get this like lawyer position with Jaggers, because he feels so bad that he made him so in debt, and also because he loves Herbert so much. So Herbert so Herbert doesn't know that Pip did this for him, but Miss Havisham also helped. Herbert is like, listen, Pip, I know things are not going very well for you right now, but you're my bestie forever. You're my waifu. So Clara and I were talking, and we really want you to come live with us. And I'm about to go like to Cairo or whatever to do lawyering stuff with Jaggers. So if you could do that, or I think it's with Jaggers. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So Pip's like, that sounds great. But he goes to visit Joe and Biddy after this, and he has it in his head that he's like, listen, Biddy's always been there for me. She's a great gal. You know what? I could start over with Biddy and Joe. I could just marry Biddy and everything will be coming up Pip again.
This is what bugs me real quick. From the start, the first time he says, I wish I could love you, Biddy. He never goes, do you think you could love me? And same this time, he's like, I'm just going to go marry Biddy. And I'm like, what if Biddy doesn't want to marry you? Because she's given no indication that she's interested in you like that. Like,
she's just like a nice person. And Pip's like,
she's just like a
she's
nice,
probably in love
decent
with me.
person. And this gets back to the stupid thing where y'all nice guys who feel like you never win, it's because y'all set yourselves up with this kind of shit. Like you have someone who's like being nice to you and a friend, or like someone you go to for advice, and you're like, I bet she's in love with me romantically. I think that she would just jump at the chance to be with me romantically.
God,
And spoiler,
I know.
no, if she's given you zero indication, very good chance she's not interested in you like that. No, she has not led you on by being nice to you. Hush.
No. I mean, I will say this for Pip. I don't think he thinks Biddy has led him on in any way. I think he's just kind of hoping
he doesn't
that maybe Biddy will like him back.
He never reaches the nice guys never win attitude portion.
No.
But just the sheer fact that he would just
the
assume.
Audacity.
The audacity.
Yeah, after being gone for like 10 years or whatever. He's like fully 25 now. I don't know.
And he's like, I'm just going to go marry Biddy. And I'm like, I bet you're not.
Check yourself, boy. So he shows back up. And the day he shows up, Biddy and Joe just got married.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, I kind of hate this, but also I'm willing to be okay with it.
I'm willing to be okay with it because she's like so mature and wise beyond her years, and he's just the nicest man who's ever walked the earth. So I'm like I just refuse okay as I can to believe anything bad of Joe ever. Like, he is so sweet. Yeah, so they're very happy. Kind of been like running the house / blacksmith stuff with him ever since his first wife, Pip's sister, was handicapped. So
yes,
she's already kind of been in all other parts, kind of playing that role.
And you know what? She didn't really even move in until like, well, they were like late teens. So I'm like, for the time, it could be worse.
It could be so much worse.
It could be way worse. So anyway, so they're married, and Pip has to immediately be like, "Oh, I'm so
happy
great
for you guys. I was not planning to come back here and marry Biddy against her will."
So awesome. You know what? I actually have to go immediately, but I'm so happy for you.
He does.
So he gets out of there, and but everyone is like, "Oh, Pip, we always loved you.
They're all so glad to see
we'll forgive you for anything," and blah blah blah. So that's really sweet.
Yeah.
So Pip is kind of like, he's really eating his humble pie. Like, everything has been going so bad for him that he's sort of started to be like, you know what? I was kind of not nice to my friends, and I was a little bit of a mess for a long time. Now I'm just gonna have to do my best and be okay with it. So he goes and does Clark stuff with Herbert, and everything's going fine. And then it's like 11 years later, he shows back up, and
Miss Havisham has died, right?
Yes, Miss Havisham is dead.
Yes. Left a bunch of money to Herbert's family.
Estella and Herbert's family, So
that's nice. Estella and Herbert's family,
The house has been torn down though. So Pip goes back, and Joe and Biddy have named their son after him, which is so sweet, and they have a daughter too. And so there's like this cute part where Pip's like, yeah, me and the littler Pip, we just walked around and hung out, and we just get each other. And I was like, this is so sweet. So they're a sweet family. So but then Pip's like, you know what, I'm just gonna go hang out. I want to go see what Sada's house looks like now and all that. And he had heard that like Estella has not been doing well either. Bentley, of course, ended up being a horrible husband and was like abusive and horrible to her. We all knew that was happening. And so but then he's dead like, now.
Of all the rich, like annoying socialites, you picked the worst one. And he kept trying to tell Estella, like, please marry anyone else. Don't marry him. He's the literal worst. And Estella's like, don't tell me what to do. I'm doing it.
She was like, I'm doing it anyway. Oh God. It's so sad. And so so he shows back up, and he's wandering around the grounds, and who else is there? Estella. After 11 years or something, more than that. And so they just happen to be there at the same time, and it's kind of fate, because he's like, do you come here a lot? And she's like, this is literally the first time I've been here in years. And he's like, oh my God, me too. And so they kind of sit together and talk for a while, and then at the very end, it's like kind of like this implication that maybe they're gonna stay together and hang out. But
she says something like suffering taught her something about her feelings that, you know, Miss Havisham never did. Basically suffering, she suffered so much, and her life sucked so much. It's almost like the complete and total absence of love or affection made her recognize what it looked like and what it was and made her
like
want
her
it.
need for it.
Yeah. And so now she's kind of like, I'm a changed woman.
Yeah. And Pip also, that's kind of what happened to Pip too. I mean, not that he was as messed up as Estella, but he had to go through a lot in order to like get back to his real like good self. And so they both are kind of better people now and like kind of understand themselves and each other better. And so it's kind of like maybe things will work out. And that's the end of the book.
Yeah.
Ah!
It was a good ending. It was a very good ending.
So good. I love the very last line.
I liked it too. It was good. The ending was definitely good. I listened to like the first 2 volumes in audiobook form, and then I like read the last volume in book form. I actually enjoyed reading this more than listening to it also, because I caught more of the craft. So I was willing to be more patient with how long it went on, that I felt like it didn't need to, because I was like, at least I'm enjoying how artful the sentences are.
Yeah, like he has a funny way of crafting sentences. And like I think what's funny about him is that he'll just kind of, the way he writes, it's like he's poking fun at everyone all the time.
He is.
It's very funny. Yeah.
It is good. Well, what would you say your favorite and least favorite parts are?
My favorite part, oh, this is tough. But I just love so much of it. One of my favorite parts is when he first shows up to Saddest house and you get kind of like, oh, this is weird, you know? It's like such a weird reveal of like, oh, this is a crazy character and like what the hell is going on, and it's creepy and you're not sure what to make of it. I just love like the vibe of like the beginning of the book, like kind of misty and weird and creepy.
I like that too.
My least favorite part, I don't really know. Sorry.
Whoa.
There's some idiot who just revs his engine all the time. It's so annoying.
Probably my husband.
No, it always scares Juicy so bad.
Oh, poor
Juice.
Juice.
Just to rev his engine.
Yeah, probably.
So, least favorite, I don't even know. I honestly don't know.
All right, well, I'll give you my least favorite.
Dislike. Okay, go ahead.
The whole Orlick trying to murder Pip thing, I was like completely unnecessary. That and most of volume 1.
No,
I was like, okay, this is my preference. This is my overall thing for the book. I did enjoy it more than I thought I would. Yay! I think, again, because I read it later on. However, I so badly wanted volume 1 and volume 2 to both be so much more condensed and then squished together. So the whole book would have just been 2 volumes. That's still more than I typically want, but I could have accepted it because the craft was good enough that I would have put up with it more. But I was just like, get me through volume 1, because it's all just Pip's childhood and only a little bit of that is relevant to the rest of the story. And then a lot of volume 2 is also just kind of like, we're getting there. And now something interesting has happened.
But it's a coming of age novel, really. Like, so you have to have,
but you have to have 3. Yeah. And so put that in like part of volume 1. I don't need like the 3 volumes of it. It was too much.
This is fascinating to me because volume 1 is like my fave. I think if I could cut anything, it would be like random stuff in volume 2 and like random stuff in volume 3. I would just keep
I enjoyed most of volume 3, and I would like to get rid of most of volume 1 and a lot of volume 2. This is still far more positive than I thought I would feel about
I am like amazed, honestly. I guess we just have different like things we like about it. Maybe that's what it is.
I think so. Well, my problem has always been and will continue to be, I really like things that are concise and or action packed. So whenever like the action would dip for a little bit, or I'd be like, is this absolutely necessary? I would be like, I don't have the energy for this. I'd be like, just get me to the next exciting thing.
Okay, I see that. I think though, for me, I really enjoy, oh sorry, I had to catch my mic. One of the things I really like about Dickens's books is just like the humor
vibes
and the vibes, and the characters. So I honestly, I did pick this one because I think it has the most
drama, action.
Yes, and like plot that's like a noticeable plot. Besides maybe Oliver Twist. Oliver Twist has I definitely wasn't going to
Yes.
pick David Copperfield. There's like no plot in that.
I'm
But
so
I did pick this
grateful.
specifically knowing this about you, so I tried.
I appreciate that.
But I yeah, one of my favorite things is just like seeing like the funny bits of like, oh, Pip going to visit the Pockets for dinner and like everyone's
Yeah.
being like kind of weird and like quirky and
See,
stuff.
it's stuff like that that just it could have been cut. Like it was good. I wouldn't cut it because it was bad. I would cut it because the story doesn't need it. And I just
Yeah.
philosophically believe that generally the most effective and impactful way to tell your story is as concisely as possible. So it's not that it wasn't all like nothing was really bad at all because it's Charles Dickens. He's very talented. I wouldn't cut anything because it was bad. I would just cut it because it wasn't necessary. Or I would put it in like a different, like as like a short story addendum or something. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
have it in the book.
I guess it's just you can't really avoid that with some of his stuff because of the serialized nature of it.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with
So
it
I'll
because
give
I
him
like seeing all
leniency
of
for
that.
that, but it is long-winded. But
I
I'll give
think
him
it's,
leniency, but I do stand by my initial feelings that he's long-winded. I
I
do think
guess
he's long-winded.
that's fair. I think I just like that. And you
Yeah.
don't. And that's just where
Also,
we come out of it.
I know, and he does spend a lot of time like establishing like aesthetic and vibes, which is just not really my style. It's totally good. He does a great job doing it, but like I want a little bit of it. Like the Bronte sisters give me like the max amount that I want of aesthetic setting. And I feel like Dickens was like, I'm going to go a step farther. And I was like, that's too much. Let's move on to the plot. I've understood it's foggy.
It's foggy. Yes. Mention the mist one more time. I dare you.
I swear, Dickens. But what about favorite and least favorite characters?
Easy. Favorite character, Herbert Pocket.
Same.
Least favorite character. Oh,
Orlick.
maybe it's not easy. Yeah, Orlick, I guess. He's boring and like mean.
He doesn't need to be in it. I forgot to say my favorite part. I just said my least favorite part because it was
what's your
more
favorite
fun. That's very difficult. Volume 3 in general.
Just all of it. I mean, the plot really ramps up, I guess.
Yes, that's hence why. Otherwise, it's hard to pick a favorite part because like the scenes that I all liked pretty equally because they were all very well written. But volume 3 just in general because it's all more faster paced. But yeah, favorite character Herbert, least favorite character Orlick.
Yeah,
like that's pretty fair. But
yeah, but also
Bobby loves Pip.
Yeah, I love Pip too. I think he's a good main character because he's like he's complicated, but also like you want to root for him, and he's kind of plucky, but like
all the characters are excellent. I will happily give that to Dickens. He is excellent at naming characters, crafting characters, character backstory. He is a master of that. I will let him have that. No argument here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I think though, I was gonna say Herbert, like favorite as in I love him the most, but Miss Havisham favorite as in most
like,
iconic
backstory,
and
so
like coolest.
interesting. Yes, I agree because she keeps coming to mind. I agree. Estella, honorable mention for Estella and just how interesting she was. A horrible person, upset me the whole book long, but did start to feel sorry for her, even though I was still upset with her, and just so interesting. Very interesting. But what about favorite quotes?
Oh, okay, I have it. One, I have two actually. I'm gonna say both. Okay, one. The first time I read it, I laughed so hard that I wrote it down and then forgot about it until I read it again, and then I laughed again and remembered that I had already written this down before.
Of course.
And it's the part where I just think it's so funny. When Pip goes and is eating dinner with the Pockets, and what's her name? Herbert's mom is like kind of out of it all the time and like flighty a little bit, and doesn't really pay a lot of attention to her kids. So the baby is like messing with this nutcracker that's on the table, and one of the younger daughters is trying to take it away from the baby. And Mrs. Pocket gets all mad at her. She's like, no, I'm in charge of the baby right now. Like, go back to your spot or whatever. And Matthew Pocket says, good God, are infants to be nutcrackered into their tombs and no one to save them?
I do remember thinking that was funny. That whole scene was funny. I was like, lady, chill.
Good God. So funny.
Our babies to be nutcrackers.
To their tombs. And then my other favorite quote, bear with me. It is long, but I'm going to say it anyway. Okay. This line, this scene, this is like one of my favorite scenes in the whole book. This is the part where Pip goes to confront Miss Havisham and Estella, and this is basically his like love confession to Estella, which
Uh-huh.
is bonkers. So she says something like, "Oh, Pip, get me out of your thoughts." And he says, "Out of my thoughts? You are part of my existence, part of myself. You have been in every line I have ever read since I first came here, the rough common boy whose poor heart you wounded even then. You have been in every prospect I have ever seen since, on the river, on the sails of the ships, on the marshes, in the clouds, in the light, in the darkness, in the wind, in the woods, in the sea, in the streets. You have been the embodiment of every graceful fancy that my mind has ever become acquainted with. The stones of which the strongest London buildings are made are not more real or more impossible to displace with your hands than your presence and influence have been to me, there and everywhere, and will be. Estella, to the last hour of my life, you cannot choose but remain part of my character, part of the little good in me, part of the evil. But in this separation, I associate you only with the good, and I will faithfully hold you to that always, for you must have done me far more good than harm. Let me feel now what sharp distress I may. Oh, God bless you. God forgive you. That is crazy. It
It
is
is crazy.
so good.
It is
Like,
so funny that you picked it as a favorite quote. I would say it's beautifully written, but when I read that, I was so annoyed with Pip. I was like, bro, she has
no,
given you zero reason. This is fully a case of you being in love with the idea of her when she's repeatedly told you that she is not interested.
don't get me wrong. It is so like backwards for him to be giving this love confession, but I think it is so well written.
It
And
is
he
so
even
well
at the
written.
moment says like he's like, I don't even know what came over me. I just started saying shit. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But I think that it like kind of is so intense and like it just comes out of nowhere. So it's like very memorable to me.
Yeah,
And I think it's so well written.
it is
And
very
it
well
kind of
written.
shows like how like intense he has gotten about this. Anyway, I
Yeah,
think it's
he's
great.
very, very intense about it. This is another thing where I don't really, unrequited love gives me anxiety in books. So Pip is like the ultimate unrequited love, like, or Estella, I guess, technically. But like, it so gives me anxiety the whole book. So I'm like, Pip, you're a pretty good dude. Like, you could definitely meet a nice girl who also cares about
You
you.
really
Like,
could.
stop. You're hurting me because I'm so hurt for you. And Estella's like, yeah, meet someone else. I don't care.
I think one of the things that I like about it also though is that like right before that he had told her like Estella, I love you, and she was like, literally, what does that mean? That means nothing to me. You don't even like really like me or know me. And then
Yeah,
he says that, and it's like
that's true.
so far above I love you. It is like bonkers because he's basically like, you are so ingrained into me that like I cannot stop thinking about you, even if you're
Yeah.
bad for me, which is
Yeah. He
wild.
kind of like tries to like explain it. And it is funny because you feel like after something that big and moving, she would have some like flicker of emotion in her response.
Nothing.
No, not even. She's like, okay, moving on.
I know. It is wild.
It's
Oh God.
crazy. It's good. I think my favorite quote, meaning it's one that I looked up just now and I was like, oh, I remember liking this one, was in a word, I was too cowardly to do what I knew to be right, as I had been too cowardly to avoid doing what I knew to be wrong. I just
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's really good. And
It's
that
so
is
good.
that's kind of Pip's whole life. He kind of lives his whole life that way until the end.
It's true. He
Um
kind of does.
he's a very fear-based person, I think. I mean, most people are in general, but he is. And I just thought that was very interesting. And he has that thought and then he kind of decides that for the first time he's going to do what's hard even though it's hard because it's right.
Yeah,
I just
that's
felt
a
like that was a
good
very
one.
interesting change for him.
You're right. Pip is very fear based, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of is like always hanging on by the seat of his pants. It's
He
almost like he doesn't
really
really
is.
belong anywhere, so he's always trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
feels like an imposter all the time.
Yeah, exactly. He
Mm.
constantly has imposter syndrome.
Yeah. You know what's another good line? I just remembered it. At the very end when Estella says, um, she says, I have been bent and broken, but hopefully into a better shape. That is such a good
Yes. I almost
line.
picked that one, but I was like, then everyone's gonna think I picked the first one on Goodreads. But it's a
Oh,
really, really good one. I think it's the first one on
man.
Goodreads.
It's so good though.
It is, yeah. It's so because I mean, I think we all kind of hope for that. because that's the end. That's the last part of the line about sorrow has basically taught her how to love. Essentially, she's saying sorrow has changed her. Because she from what she didn't get in her upbringing. It's like that's all in that same line, and it's so beautiful. And I think that that's really best case scenario, and also kind of an example of like you can let the trauma in your life harden you, or you can let it make you a better person. And it's not, you know, people say stuff like everything happens for a reason. I mean, that's a horrible thing to say to somebody who's just been through something horrible that has no explanation, where it's something that should never have happened in this world. So I just don't think that's like a good answer. But I do think that even when stuff happens to you that's not your fault, completely out of your control, should never have happened. The only thing you can do, the only control that you have, is decide how you're going to let it affect you.
Yeah.
And Estella kind of finally did. I mean, when she was raised as a child, she didn't really have a choice in that because it was like brainwashed into her and she was a kid. And then as an adult, when her life was awful, she at some point apparently reached a point where she decided she was going to let it change her in a better way instead of a worse way.
Right. And so like Miss Havisham never really did that. She let her, you know, I guess that's what you're hinting at. But yeah, she like let everything ruin her. But Estella, as the next generation, kind of has to turn that around.
Are they perhaps foils for each other? Perhaps.
Perhaps.
I'm just saying, like Miss Havisham, it was horrible that she got fooled and left at the altar, and not her fault at all.
No.
But, and there was no real reason that had to happen, but she could have chosen to become a better person who like taught her adopted daughter how to love and how to guard her heart, but how to, you know, be in a healthy relationship. Instead, she's like, I'm going to turn my daughter into a robot and use her to kill men in their soul.
Yes.
It was like,
and
what?
She is going to like wallow in this horrible thing that happened to her, like physically for the rest of her life.
The rest of her life.
Insane. Like,
awful.
Wow.
Crazy.
What a character.
Oh I mean, and that kind of brings us right into what did we learn from this book?
There, I mean, we've kind of been saying it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one.
You cannot let, don't be a Miss Havisham.
Don't. If somebody comes just randomly out of the woodworks and is like, I want to offer you a lot of money to change your life, I feel like just ask some questions and don't take no for an answer. Yeah. I just feel like he should have insisted upon more answers. I know Mr. Jaggers or whatever was like, I can't give you any answers. And I'd have been like, I mean, there was no Google at the time, but I'd have been like researching stuff and talking to people at the bank and like trying to figure this thing out. Yeah. I don't know that I would have just taken it at face value. That feels sketchy. So
it was definitely sketchy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, here's one I've said before, and I'm going to say it again. If a girl gives you no indication of liking you or of returning your advances, she's not playing coy. She's not secretly hiding feelings for you. Take her at her word. She's not into you. Move on.
She's just not that into you.
Yeah. And she's not a bitch necessarily, or even cold-hearted necessarily. Estella is cold-hearted. But
Estella is both.
Estella is both. However, a girl not returning your feelings is not what makes her a bitch or cold-hearted. Exactly. Estella was those things regardless of the fact that she was not into Pip.
Respect. Like,
yeah. Come on, guys. If she's it's funny when they're like, well, maybe she's hiding her feelings. I feel like guys must tell themselves that occasionally. Like especially when like a guy has a crush on like a friend that's a girl, and I'm like, have you had any reason to think they like you back? And it's like, well, no, but it could still work out. And I'm like, I think you should move on.
Okay, stop adding me. That's literally me. It's okay when I do it, though. It's okay when I do it.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's the thing where I'm like, I respect your feelings, but I should move on for yourself and for her. Well, in this scenario, I'm talking about it somebody then being rude or thinking rudely about the girl.
Yes, for sure.
I guess that can happen
in your own pity. That's fine, I guess. But also beware of being a Miss Havisham. See how it comes back around.
It all comes back to Miss Havisham. Oh God. If you are left at the altar, I do think it's acceptable to once a year put on your old wedding dress and have the day, or just walk around your neighborhood at night in your wedding dress just to give the kids something to talk about.
Once a year.
Once a year, you can let yourself do it. Everybody needs an eccentric neighbor. I feel we could use more of them. I say go for it. It sounds cathartic.
I'm fine with that.
Don't live in it, but definitely give yourself a day once a year to mourn the loss in a way that will make everybody gossip about you.
Oh God, but please move on. Please.
She's like, don't do it. Don't. This is horrible advice. Please move on.
I feel like it's a slippery slope.
One day you're just walking around outside at night in your wedding dress, and then it's 20 years later and you're just inside in your yellow wedding dress, all the rotten food behind you, and you're training your adopted daughter to crush the hearts of men. Slippery slope.
I mean, it could happen to anyone, really.
Yeah, yes, it could.
Oh,
it could happen to anyone. I feel like there's some kind of lesson in the pale young gentleman just walking up and trying to fight Pip, but I don't know what it is.
I have no idea what that is, but it's hilarious to me.
Maybe just what? Don't do that.
But Herbert goes into things confidently, even if he doesn't have the ability or the know-how. And you know what? I appreciate that about him. He's such a good friend. He is so loyal. He is.
And I feel like he's a good example of how to give a nickname and really stick with it. Because from the moment he names Pip Handle, for the rest of the book, he calls him Handle. And I really love that.
He really does stick with it.
Yeah. So if you want to give someone a nickname and they resist, just keep calling them the nickname. At some point, they're going to respond to it. That's what I've learned. So if only I could do that to myself, but maybe I'll try it on Hobby. Maybe I'll come up with a weird nickname that he doesn't like. And just, if I use it over enough time, it's just going to be normal.
Yeah, just make him get used to it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Spoons.
Exactly, Spoons.
Good. Is there anything else that we learned from this book?
I feel like there are a lot of things, but we've said enough.
I know Dickens is like, that's all you got from it.
I know. Like, sorry, Dickens, we've been going for an hour 45. Like, we gotta wrap it up.
We gotta wrap it up, man. Which brings us to Pinkies Up.
Ooh, this is listen. It's a 5 for me. I love this book. It makes me cry. I love it. It's fun. It's weird and creepy. It's poignant. I love it. 5 for me.
It had elements that I enjoyed. I really liked the plot. I just wanted the plot to be delivered in a much more concise fashion. It was also very, very long. Do I think I'll read it again? I'm not going to say never, but I do feel like it's unlikely. Would I enjoy adaptations of this in shorter form?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to give it, and the craft was excellent and the humor was good. So I'm going to give it 3.75.
What?
I feel like it's much higher than I thought I was going to give it a couple weeks ago.
You guys, I am literally floored. I think I'm going to pass out.
What did you think I was going to give it?
I don't know. Before showing up today, I was preparing myself for 1 star. I'm so serious. I was like, she's made her position extremely clear. It's on me if I am not prepared for 1 star, Didn't
I give Treasure Island 1 Pinky Up?
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is better than Treasure Island.
Significantly better. I did give it under 4, which I have said before. Typically, if it's between 3 and 4, there's a good chance I'll never read it again. 4 and 5, I typically will reread it at some point. But really 3 and up means I did not enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's not going to land on my favorites list, but there was too much that was very admirable about this book to not give it 3.75.
You have no idea how much that means to me. And also, thank you for reading it. It means
it hurt me to do. It was something I was like, this is for Kendall. And I kept listening to the audiobook and I was working outside on the chicken run and I was like, oh my God, we're still in volume 1. And I was like, you're doing it for Kendall. I was like, I have to really, I was really like Ash, because I wanted to just like speed through it and just let it play and not pay attention. And I was like, no, you have to actually give it the college try for Kendall, because she'll never forgive you.
No, you're so sweet. I really was thinking maybe she's not going to pay attention to it, but I was not going to hold it against you.
I kept trying so hard to make myself continue to pay attention, but there were sometimes my attention drifted off, and then I was like, no, for Spoons.
You were so sweet.
And I was also like, she's going to know if I don't pay attention.
I was haunting you while
you were hunting me all week, really all last week too, because you were like, you might want to get started a week early. And yeah, I did. So thank you for that.
Well, was that audiobook not pretty good? I mean, I know you enjoyed reading it better.
It was pretty good. Yeah. I did enjoy reading it more because the craft and the humor I felt like was more evident. But especially when I figured out that I could speed up the YouTube video, and I didn't know that I could. Which, by the way, guys, there's a lot of classics that are like, what's it called? They're not in the thing anymore, so they can
public domain.
public domain. They're public domain, like this one. So you can find like really good audiobooks on YouTube for free and legally. So if you guys are interested.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
You
guys should check that out first.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun. I had a good time.
What are we reading next week?
Next week,
oh, she knows.
I believe is I was about to be very confident about it, but then I realized I hadn't checked in like a day.
I was excited. I was like, oh, okay, she knows.
This is gonna be annoying if I'm right. Wait. Let me look. Yes, I'm right.
What is it?
I even have it. The next week is Fallen Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes.
Yay!
And Haley's gonna join us.
Oh, yay! So okay, cool. And this was a UREC again. Is this the last UREC?
I think so, yes.
I believe
so. This was a me rec, but originally it was a Haley rec, so that's why she's coming.
Ooh, so it's originally a Haley rec.
Yes.
We haven't had her since Ruin and Rising.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
That was a while ago. Was that season 1 or season 2? Season 1?
That was season 1. That was like over a year ago.
Wow. The return of Pod Nurse. Hell
True,
yeah.
Pod Nurse.
Gotta make all our list of like anatomical questions of things that happens in books and be like, is this actually how it works?
Yeah.
I believe everything's coming back around. It's back to clavicles again too, because I believe the question we had for her in that episode was, is the collarbone the same thing as a clavicle? And apparently yes it is.
That's right, I forgot about that.
It all comes back to the clavicle.
Oh man,
my favorite part of the body.
All these callbacks we're doing, incredible.
I know, wow. So that'll be good. Falling Kingdoms is, all I know is that it looks like there's like a mage on the front. It looks very Renaissance fair.
It is. Ash, I think you're gonna like it. The first book is insane.
Is it adult fantasy? Because it doesn't look like a YA.
It's young adult, but imagine like if Game of Thrones was young adult. It's kind of dark. I'm
interested. I'm very interested.
And there are like 5 books, so it's crazy.
Okay, cool. So we're doing Falling Kingdoms next week, and Haley, aka Pod Nurse, is going to join us, and it's going to be delightful.
Yep.
And we're going to think of you guys as we partied up at my place this weekend.
Yes,
so
we'll be thinking of you.
Always thinking of you guys. Just as I was thinking of Kendall all week long, haunted by her as I read this book.
Me over your shoulder, like, are you paying attention, bitch?
That's exactly what I felt like. I was like, oh my God. But if you guys want to keep up with us during the week, can't blame you. We're pretty delightful. You can do that. You can follow us on social media. We are on Instagram and TikTok at That Pretentious Book Club. You can also email us if you have book recs or if you just want to chat with us at contact@storysirenstudio.com. That's also our website where you can go check out pod merch. We've got book merch, inside joke merch, all kind of good stuff there. And you can learn more about the pod. If you guys want to support the pod, merch is a great way to do it. But also, you can go to patreon.com/storysirenstudio.com and you can get all of our video episodes, bonus episodes, exclusive merch that only Patreon peeps get. So all kinds of cool exclusive stuff there. So go check it out. And there's multiple tiers, so you can only, commit as much as you like us. That's perfectly fine. Or just leave us a review. If you're like, not quite that much, but I'll leave you guys a review, that would be great. Thank you. Tell your friends. The pod is always growing, which is wonderful. And we'll see you guys next week. So until then, keep your teacups full.
Your pinkies high.
And your book club
pretentious. Goodbye.
Bye.